So I think the C shape is my favorite pattern for lead playing. I feel like it just gives you so much easy access to so many great notes. And I think this is why players like John Frusciante, John Mayer, and Jimi Hendrix, and all these guys are also a big fan of these patterns. I feel like it's just an ideal guitar pattern. All the notes fit really easily under your fingers. And ergonomically, it just makes it so easy to hit everything. So this is where I think a lot of people lose it on Caged. I think they can easily see these chords, the chord shapes. But then when it comes to lead playing, they never get that full pattern. So in the chord diagrams, it's going to be oriented for you looking down at your guitar. So the bottom heavy strings are down here and the top thin strings are up here. So the big pattern is this. So that pattern can mean many different things based on what your intention is, what chords are behind it, but the main one we're going to focus on today is that C shape, the C-shaped chords. This is going to be your A note for this demonstration, and we're just going to look at a regular A major scale with, Ionian mode. As I've described before, everything you need is within that big caged pattern. I would start, if you look at that big pattern, it's overwhelming, but then first place to start is knowing the octaves. Knowing that there's an A on the 12th fret on the A string, and there's an A on, the 10th fret on the B string. So that's the first thing you want to know, place those in there. So that'll give you your target, where you can easily start and end stuff. From there, I would know the big A shape, so that way you can easily play rhythm on it and see more of the pattern. This, knowing the chord, will also give you your arpeggios, which is also your chord tones. But I don't think you necessarily need to, if you're just beginning this, I wouldn't start with that yet. I mean, it'd be great to know that, but that can be overwhelming. So know your octaves, know your chord shapes, and then I would know the pentatonic. Because all those notes will always sound good. You can land on any of them. And then after that, I would know the full scale, this big chunky pattern. And that'll give you that full access to all the lead stuff. You could also go the other way and learn the full scale and then work your way down, just reducing it after that. Sometimes it's easier to see the full pattern and then work your way down. So you would see the full scale, then the pentatonics, then the arpeggios and chords, and then the octaves or dyads. The lead stuff that I feel is real easy is this shape is just great for double stops, kind of the Jimi Hendrix thing. And really with that, you're just taking the pentatonic and you're just kind of starting on one side and then closing off the other. The other thing I personally like it for is because I'm a big fan of in a major tonality to hit that fourth, kind of suspend the third. So you're just hitting, the root's here, the third's there, the fourth is there. Here's the fourth. So all that is really easy. And then essentially what this shape is it's the BB box. So the BB box, your root is there. BB sound's gonna be a little bit more major. And that just makes it so easy to bend. You can slide into that major 6 and hit the major third there. If you wanted to make it bluesy, you can do the minor third, but easily gives you access to that major third. That major third there. And then you could do like a, BB and Gilmore. You could do that suspended fourth again there with the bends. Another good move, I think David Gilmour does this one on Mother, is where you hit the root here, and then the 5th is here. So you're going root 5th to the 6th. So that's why I like that shape too, is it's real easy to do major bends. That country bend is there too. So if you're just learning this, it's going to be hard to kind of quickly get through those scales and just kind of know where they are. So it's good to slow it down. But since you're slowing it down, I think it's a good time to work on your right hand. So what I used to do is I would do 4 notes at a time, because this would work on my picking hand, but it would give my brain and my fingers up here time to see the pattern. So I would do just throughout the whole scale. You could put on a click to get more specific with it. Can't talk and do this. You could put on a click to get a little bit more tempo on it, but that's a great way to work on your pick and hand and get that pattern down. Once you get the 4s are easy, you could either speed it up or you could go to like triplets or just doubles. And then you can go to sync. So that way it makes mentally seeing that pattern and learning it, you're kind of getting 2 for 1, because not only are you hammering that pattern, but you're working on your picking too. So then when your brain and your fingers can catch up, your right hand has got you. And then I would just put on an ambient backing track, or something in we're in A, so something in A major, and play a little pentatonic, and then run up the whole scale. You can do double stops, just kind of stay in that pattern and really get familiar with it. If you're just beginning, I would really get comfortable hitting those roots. And then if you're comfortable with the pattern, comfortable with that, you can start to target specific notes. So you can say, I'm just gonna work on the 3rd. You just kind of do that not only for your ear, but also just to get used to where the notes are there. So I think that's a great way to practice these lead patterns. I think this is a part that a lot of people miss, and the reason why they don't get it. I don't think there's any shortcuts. I think it's just, unfortunately, it's just a lot of repetition. So I took my kids to Splashville, which is this great area in Nashville where they turn on the fountains. It's hot as hell out, so they let the kids run around there and have fun. They were having a great time, but over in the amphitheater area, there was a juggling club. you know, these guys on stilts, they were throwing, you know, bowling pins and doing all this juggling. Of course, my 7-year-old was fascinated. Water didn't bother him at all at that point. So we walked over there, and the guys were really nice. So they were, you know, they saw this 7-year-old that was fascinated, and they came over to him and were kind of slowly teaching him how to juggle, you know, showing him different techniques and where to start. And, you know, it was like, first you just got to get a good rainbow, and then next you got to, you know, throw it to one side. And they had like their own methodologies to get there. And he, at one point, he said this thing that was, thought it applied to a lot of things. He said, he was like, you know, he's like, I can't give you any tip or teach you any tricks that all of a sudden make you juggle. He's like, I've showed you how to do it. And now the word he used, he was like, it just takes brutal repetition. He's like, you just got to do it over and over again until something in your brain clicks and it almost becomes second nature. And he was telling this story as he was juggling. It was kind of amazing. He's like, I'm doing this right now because I've done so many repetitions and so much practice that now this is second nature. And I think guitar, like when you're learning guitar and with these patterns for CAGED, it's the same thing. There's no magic way around it. You know, there's a lot of stuff on social media that'll say, oh, you know, you can do this in 5 minutes, or learn how to master the fretboard in 5 minutes. You know, and I think that's similar, you know, that these lessons can kind of show you how to do it, but it can't really teach, you know, only you can teach yourself. I mean, I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker, but it's like that juggling. You just gotta run the scales over and over and over again. That's why I think that one that I was showing you, I think working on the right hand is very beneficial for that. I remember watching a BB interview. It was like one of those master classes, and they were asking him about learning guitar, and he said the same thing pretty much. He had a funny way to say it. What was it? He was like, he was talking about, yeah, you just gotta sit at home and run those scales over and over again. And BB King was like, he's like, all your friends will be going out, and he was like, they'll be getting all the girls, but soon enough, if you keep practicing your scales, the girls will come to you. So again, it's a lot of notes, and it seems confusing, but you want to be able to see, it's almost like an MRI scan. You want to kind of be able to see the layers of patterns underneath that big chunky, you know, the whole major pattern in this case. So you got to know your octaves, know your chord shapes. You can even know your triads, which are your chord tones, or your arpeggios are the same. All that stuff is just the same. And then you want to know your pentatonic. And then once you have that, then you add that full major scale, and you'll have quite a menu to choose from.